Hi, Vince here again with another installment of Linux Terminal Love. Continue on with me on my journey of discovery in learning how to use the terminal. It's great for when you run into trouble and the instructions you might find require you to do so. Today, I'd like to discuss aliases. Aliases are shortcuts that you can create that allow you to run repetitive or long commands very quickly. They are a huge time saver. There are some downsides perhaps to using aliases, and I've seen and heard people comment that perhaps as you're learning to use the terminal, you should really learn what the proper commands are, and aliases may distract people from that. Also, you should be careful that if you create aliases that are too close to an existing command, that you might unintentionally run the alias rather than perhaps the command that you wanted. So let's dive right in and see what aliases are all about. I'll link to some of the resources that I used in the description down below. This nice little article is from the Raspberry Pi Foundation, and if you go through it, it explains fairly well how to go about using aliases. First of all, you may not know that many distributions already come pre-configured with their own aliases. And to find out what they are, first of all, we bring up a terminal and simply type alias, and you'll see a list of some of the aliases that Ubuntu comes out of the box with. So you can see here, for example, if I simply type L, it links to an ls command with the -cf flags, or ll links to ls with the ALF flags. And many of you will be already familiar with these commands, so let's try them out. So, for example, we'll do a normal ls, which will display something like this, but an LA command will display all your hidden files as well, and an LL command will display all your details as well. So how do we configure our own aliases? Well, you can simply go ahead and edit a file in your home directory called .bashrc. That will certainly work, but a more recommended way of doing so would be to create a file called .bash_aliases. But before we do that, we actually do need to open up our bashrc file and take a look at that. And to do that, we can open up a text editor. Open. Now I've already opened it previously, but you'll be able to find it in your home folder normally. Now if you don't see it, what you should do is press Ctrl H, and that will display all your hidden folders and files. Any file or folder in Linux with a dot at the start of it is normally hidden, and you usually need to press a key combination like Ctrl H or go into your menu of your file manager to show them. Here we'll find .bashrc and click Open. What we need to look for is a few lines of code here that look like this. See here it says alias definitions. You can read the rest of that, but the important lines of code are this. This tells the terminal, whenever you open it, to also read a file called .bash aliases. In this file is where it's intended that you place all your custom aliases. In some distributions, these lines may be commented out. Commented out means that it may have a hash symbol at the start of it, at each of these lines. This means that they're usually ignored by a system and are used for descriptive purposes or to hold lines of code that you may not want to be run just yet. If that's the case, find these lines and just simply delete the hashtags from them. Next, we can actually go ahead and create a new file called .bash_aliases. So we'll just go to a new window. Now, what kind of aliases can we create? One of the things that I like to do is, particularly in Ubuntu-based distributions, to update through terminal, you normally need to use two commands, sudo apt update and then sudo apt upgrade. Now I like to shorten this and create an alias so that I can use a single command to run both of those. Now to do that, we simply type alias and the shortened command that you would like to be able to type into terminal to run the longer command. For example, I'll use update as my little shortcut, equals, quotation marks, and here you put the commands that you would normally run in terminal. So in this case, I would put sudo apt update and a couple of ampersand signs to then run the next command once the first one has finished, and this next one will be sudo apt upgrade. And close the quotations. Simple. Next thing we need to do is save this document again as a .bashrc_aliases file, and we can simply save it in our home directory. .bash aliases. That's how you spell it, right? Save. Now, the aliases won't be usable straight away. What you'll need to do is, if you already have a terminal open, you'll need to tell the terminal to rerun your bash rc settings. And to do that, we can simply type in terminal source and .bash rc. Another way of doing so much more quickly is to simply use a dot space .bash rc. They both do the same thing. Next, if we run our alias command again, we'll be able to see that my custom alias has been added on to it. See that? And if I type update, it will hopefully run both those commands. See? I don't want to do an update yet because I'm running a live environment. Another alias I like to use is a shortcut for going back to a parent directory. It's a command that we all do all the time, cd space ... and I usually like to shorten it to ... So to do that, we type alias ... equals, open quotation marks, cd ... and close quotation marks. We will save that again, and back to our terminal. We'll do a reload of bash rc and check that the alias is there. See, it's added it there. Let's test it out. There we are. It's moved me back up to a parent directory there. And so on and so on. You can essentially let your imagination go wild, create whatever aliases you like. Now, one of the last things I wanted to discuss was, I mentioned earlier that you can actually add aliases to your bash rc file directly. And if you can see here, those pre-installed aliases are actually in here as well. And you can certainly do that by typing in a new alias in your bash rc file. However, the main advantage of opening up a separate file and saving your bash aliases there are that you can simply take this file with you, particularly if you are a bit of a distro hopper like myself, and plonk this into whichever distro you like, and all your aliases will be there, as long as the commands that you are using are common to those distributions. For example, in Debian or Ubuntu-based distributions, you would want apt commands, whereas in Arch-based distributions, you might want pacman commands, and so on and so on. This is because some distributions may make their own custom changes to their bash RC files, which you may lose if you simply copy across a bash RC file from another distribution. There you go. Hopefully you've learned something alongside with me today. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them below. Bye for now.